My wife comes running in, like there's a fire close, frantic. We then got a phone call from my son, my 9-year-old son, Grayson at Marquez, and he said that they were evacuating. He said, "Mom, Dad, I'm scared. I could see flames." It was from the vantage point of Marquez. It looked up to where we lived, right at ground zero, and you could see the flames. And he was scared. We filled up every tub, we filled up every sink. We wet all the towers, we put it under the doors, we pulled out the hoses, we put out the fire extinguishers, we did everything. We prioritized sentimental items all the way back to our beginnings, our wedding stuff, all the kids, baby stuff. We packed up, loaded the cars. My wife was super scared. This time the fire moved not only from behind us, but then we saw it go down because of the winds, jump across Palisades Drive and start coming up. And I had to make a decision, and I chose to stay. So I sent my wife, sent her down the hill, and obviously I was on with her until she got out, and it was scary. Watching and hearing her narrative as she's driving through what are literal fires on the right, on the left, on the roads. Obviously I was on the phone with her until she made it through all of that and over to my sister's house in Santa Monica, and then I stayed at the house. So at least I knew at that point my wife was safe, my kids were safe. So at that point it was a waiting game. I could see what the fire's doing. My house had a unique, vantage point because it is the top of the Highlands. You can see everything. So I was just standing on my patio cover in the backyard watching. Nighttime came and it started to turn into Armageddon. Everything went dark. The flames looked like hell. And I watched it come up the mountain and all the way up the canyon and jump the canyon. You could see the black smoke start going up when it starts hitting structures. Then it got all the way up to my house, and that caught. So now the entire behind, and with the winds, that turned it into an absolute apocalyptic scene. It was a firestorm, flames, embers, things, debris, just launching off the top of the mountain and just flooding like a meteor shower all over everywhere. At this time, we had water working. I just was doing rounds. I had garden hoses pulled out. I had buckets filled up. I had coolers filled up. Every piece of water, and I was just sitting there putting out hotspots. There were no firefighters at this time on the street. I don't know where they were, and I was too focused on just putting things out so that a little ember wouldn't turn into a flame, wouldn't turn into a brush fire, wouldn't catch a house. Then around 3 a.m. on Tuesday, all our hoses stopped. So we're sitting there holding garden hoses, putting out flames. Water goes off. That was the moment. Like, what do we do? For a minute, I thought, I was like, oh my God, we're done. When the water ran out, before I thought about the pool and the rinse kit, I started running around looking for firefighters out of desperation. So I ran a couple streets over. There was at least 3 fire trucks, and I went in and all the firefighters were sitting in the trucks. So I was pounded on the windows. Do you have water, right? Can you help? We don't have water. There's nothing we can do. I turn right onto my street. I start to see smoke coming from the second house in attic. And I was like, no. I run to where the firefighters are. And I'm like, guys, this attic is about to go. There's an attic about to go. Like, it's just starting. The attic's about to go. They had just emptied their water on another house trying to put out that fire down the street. Like, we have no water. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, there's nothing you can do. That did exactly what I said it was. The smoke turned to flame. The flame turned to attic fire. The attic fire turned to structure fire. That house burned. Then it jumped. It didn't burn the house next to it, but it jumped to the house to the right of that. And that's where I was like, oh, like, there's only one house in between. So when that house catches, a truck in the area, FR-115, not a big engine, but it was a fire truck, drives by, and I track him down. I start begging. His name was Andrew. The other person in the truck's name was Tony. And they're like, we know, we recognize you. Like, we talked to you last night. We saw you on the street all night. So they were one of the trucks that I was pounding on the other night. They saw me going up when they were going up and down with buckets. And I just begged them. I said, this is my house right here. This house is here on fire. We need to stop this fire, because if this fire goes, my house burns and this street burns. I'm like, so I begged them. They listened. They pull out chainsaws. They cut down the hedge line with chainsaws in between houses to remove the hedge. They physically start pulling out trees in preparation to stop the jump. They line up the fire and the giant cannon hose in between, way you protect the jump. Andrew grabs a small hose from his truck, not the big hose, runs it through my house, stands in the backyard. We had truck in front, people, in back, just trying to make sure this didn't jump. And then all of a sudden, like when we thought we had all of it, the roof started to smoke. The chimney piece of it fell onto the roof, broke the roof, ignited the attic. Every house I saw go down up there, it started in the attic. There's a hydrant literally right across from my house, 20 feet. Had that hydrant had water, my house would have been saved. Had the trucks had water, the street never would have caught on fire. The first house would have been out from an attic, right? Let alone every house that it jumped, for a fact. And I have firefighters there, that's all they were saying the entire time. Until the moment where I saw 3 guys in a burning attic, one guy with this pole ventilating the roof, chopping holes in my roof, and all you could see was balls of fire coming out of it. And then I heard one guy tell one guy under his breath, like, we gotta shift gears to helping him get everything out he can. So when I heard that, I knew it was done. And these guys were already putting themselves at risk, and if they were to stay up there even any longer, we'd all be. In September 14th, State Farm dropped us from insurance. State Farm said California Fair Plan, but then the California Fair Plan said we were not covered because the value of our home was too high. Part of me right now that's like, it wasn't just my home that burned down and my life's work that burned down. It is the trust in the leadership and the systems that absolutely failed us and could have done things to save my home for a fact, give us water. So there's a part of me that's just let down, disappointed. I'm sitting here and failed by leadership in a system that I worked my whole life, right? Doing what was right to get to a point that everybody's supposed to get to. And the scary thing is, it could have been saved. It could have been prevented. At the minimum, it could have been so dramatically minimized with the right people making the right decisions ahead of time. And we have to create change. We have to create change. We shouldn't have to go through this type of devastation to get to a breaking point where we realize we have to, but we cannot let this happen again. So what decisions do we have to make in order to make sure it never does? And that doesn't start from the top. That starts from every one of us uniting in a voice and forcing the changes that needs to be made.